let's go to asynchronous events. We've got kind of two areas, and we're going to spend about 5 minutes on each, if not less. Sometimes you feel like an activity is clearly cut and paste from real world to virtual world, and it doesn't always work. But some of us have kind of created new things, new ideas, new projects that really live in the digital world and are digital minded. You know, Marie, you mentioned some things, some ideas that some of which you plucked from others and some of which are your own. What are some examples of activities we can create that are inherently for the virtual world and build community?
So this idea, well, one idea in particular, I actually just spoke with Alyssa Cossey. I know she's here, so I'm totally going to call out and give you credit. But she created a March Madness to help the students be able to look at the light at the end of the tunnel, which is part of, I think, for a lot of us that are grieving. How do you think about what's after this? And by having them think about positivity, this March Madness idea, being able to pick one piece using the March Madness seeds. So I mean, my ensembles are just over 80 some people. So I broke them up into quartets or quintets, and then they're all going to contribute as a team. So they're going to have their own group chat, and they're going to pick one piece that they think should be a piece that we do in the fall semester. And then they're all these 16 pieces are going to compete as seeds. And then the entire choir, there's going to be head to head between the first seed or the 16th seed. And we're going to see whichever piece goes on. And then whichever is the overall winner is going to be one of the pieces in the concert moving forward. Those quartets get to hopefully be friends virtually because I'm assigning them, but also it lends them to listen to choral music on their own if they need to, asynchronously. And they could also utilize, we use an app called Band because there's not one called Choir. They're able to, chat with each other in those groups. And I've been able to figure out a way to make this March Madness thing work on that app. So.
Great, that's fantastic. Folks, in terms of revealing resources for the community, pour your hearts out into the chat right now. Tell us new activities you've created. I don't care if you're going to pull off that performance you'd planned. It's been canceled. What are you doing? What is moving forward? I'm really interested to hear that. Mike, give us a quick, maybe not. Give us as fast as you can a summary of the project that you've kind of created.
Oh, just inviting my students into my own process by having them search for repertoire. And I'm just asking all of them to send me 2 pieces. And if they can find the publication info, so much the better, with a little blurb about why the piece struck them, personally, and why they think it might be a good fit for us as a community. And so then I'm also encouraging them to post that on a forum that we're creating within ourselves using our internal software. So that's something they can do on their own time. Great, thanks.
I know my husband's a 3rd grade school teacher, and his 3rd grade class is just across the house. They've kind of abandoned a lot of their direct goals and are now singing songs and posting videos, or show us the room where you did such and such today. And by seeing each other in their own homes and getting to see Mr. Gould holding class and morning meeting in different venues, it's kind of personalizing. I think the classes are coming together. He's enjoying the discovery alongside us. Let's look at one last area of kind of maybe collective head scratching. And this is something that organically happens in person, where we begin to slowly learn about each other and we begin to storytell. Sometimes we have deliberate activities, a hot seat at the end of rehearsal or something like that, but these are the things that happen coincidentally. Elise, you work a little bit on this topic of kind of storytelling and creating. You've talked about the scrapbook. Are there other things or more about the scrapbook? Tell us what you're doing to get to know each other over the internet.
Yes, so I have a lot of students that really love composition and solo composition, instrumental composition. It's not limited to choral music. And I want to give them that kind of avenue for displaying and sharing their work online. So that is one of the folders that lives in. I would love for us to be able to perform some of their works eventually in the future. And then another folder for students to upload their video. I'm going to upload myself playing the ukulele for those purists, and singing A light of a clear blue morning, the Dolly Parton song, because everything's going to be okay. All right, it's going to be okay. And that's kind of just the theme of that. And then, you know, creating something simple. I don't want to overextend myself. I'm already really swamped. I'm the faculty senate president of my university this year too. So that's been an adventure. And we're going to use Google Slides. I'm going to compile all of those photos, those poems, and tell a story. And I'm asking also some specific prompts, like, how do you feel? How does this affected you? I think that some of the most beautiful poems and poetry comes out of events that change our lives and impact our lives and our community.
Kathy, you had mentioned some things you do asynchronous events to Storytown. What are you doing?
So a couple of things. One is I've been doing some research into digital storytelling, and I'll share a link in a moment that I found really helpful, because this is my first time really experimenting with it, but it's something I'm going to do not only with one of my choirs, but also with my freshman writing and research seminar that I'm teaching for non-majors right now. And so anyway, there are opportunities for each person to be creating kind of a 5-minute piece, digital video piece that is something where they're using images and music to create something. Could have a poem that they've written, or a song that they've written, or that they just sing, or, you know, some John Denver tune that they really love, or whatever it is that they will sing with, that reflects on a particular prompt. And then we'll be able to collect these all together into sort of a digital scrapbook. So a similar kind of idea. The students are really excited about it. And one of the things that they just raised, and I'm going to look to all of you to tell me how to do this technologically as I learned this, but it's something where we could do like one of these sort of group storytelling things where one person has like essentially one line that they do and then hands off to the next person. So you have a video file that is in, you know, little segments from each person, and it gets passed to the next person who adds their, you know, 20 seconds to it, and then that saves that and then sends it on to the next person. So we'd have to all be in agreement about what free software we're using and that sort of thing to be able to make this all possible. So any of you have experience with this, you know, hook me up. But I think there are some great opportunities to do this in a way that feels fun. And again, that kind of makes it feel like something you couldn't do if you were working toward a concert, right? This is something we have the bandwidth to kind of experiment with. So why not?
I'm going to toss this out to the whole community and also to everyone right here. This is a simple one. In terms of creating community simply and in a fun way, are there games you know about, games that you can play that are Zoom friendly? Find the mute button. That's a fun game. I lose it often. Okay, well, I've tossed that out to the room. If anyone wants to add in to that, thanks for asking. Stacy, I feel like a call-in talk show host. Brandon is a student, a college student, and talks about how he feels as though the process of repetition and practice and whatnot, and probably being around all these people with a similar passion, is helping them cement and codify the skills that we need to be musicians. The act of doing this when you're on your own, do you all have any suggestions about how a community can continue to support its own art when we aren't in the same space? Thanks, Brandon.
I'm gonna chime in here and maybe not directly answer the question. Hopefully my panelist peers can assist with that. But I just, you know, part of our skills as professional musicians, you know, are not just limited to the stuff we do in the practice room. The soft skills that we learn and perfect and exercise in grad school when you're forming that kind of network, or when you're fostering relationships at conferences, that kind of stuff is absolutely essential for success in our field, is it not? And now is the time to keep practicing those kinds of skills, all right? Because like we still need them, right?
Anyone else? All right, well, are there any final thoughts? We've got about a minute for each of you or two. If you could maybe give us any thoughts about how you see today maybe affecting where you're going forward, things you haven't had a chance to share about. What can you do to help inspire us, your community, to do our best building community back home?
Well, one of my students just reached out and said, could we do some more work, and could we bring in some people who are out there doing professional choral singing, you know, the people who are really making a living doing this, and use this for sort of professional development and for thinking about kind of like the professional development and career mentoring that usually happens in a more one-on-one sort of format, but that maybe this, for our sort of coffee hour kind of thing, like what Maria is doing, that this can also be sort of, here's some career paths. You love to sing in choirs. How can we help serve you in this way?
And I think, just to piggyback off that, is that we have to come to terms that this is not going to be the same. We just have to come to terms with that. We're trying to force a square peg into a round hole, in effect, to try to continue the practices that we were experiencing up to this very abrupt stopping point. And it's really, rather than trying to put those kind of pressures onto our students who are already traumatized, they're already worried, they're already dealing with other classes, they're losing their jobs, their part-time work, that I want to contribute to their well-being. I don't want to add to their stress. I think that's something that we have all these really great ideas, but we really have to come back and think about the student and think about what we can do to add to their life and to not cause and add stress to it.
I wanted to, just again, piggybacking off of now what Elise said, being conductors, I think our number one thing that we're going to be thinking about, especially if we're trying to still build a class around this, is what's the syllabus going to be? How am I know it gets me a little frustrated. Everyone's like, how are you going to do your virtual choir? I'm like, that's not what I'm thinking about. What I'm thinking about are other things, but I think that I would want to encourage everyone that should not be the only thing, and maybe not even the paramount thing that we're thinking about. The students are looking to you for positivity in a way that they probably don't even know. So it's not going to be the same, but it's on us to just listen to our hearts and figure out a way to make this an opportunity. I would have never had the time, and I'm super excited because tomorrow I think I'm going to message on band, hey everyone, we're going to do a scavenger hunt, and a virtual coffee is on me, meaning I will send you a $5 gift card if you can. Who's going to come back and wear the funniest sweater, and then go, because you know what, you have 30 minutes to give that to your students, and that 30 minutes is A, going to help their personal well-being, and B, going to guarantee that they're going to be in choir next semester. We haven't even been able to touch the fact of how this is going to affect recruitment, but this is how I'm going to be able to contribute to retention, is the fact that I can't be there to conduct with you and make music with you where we can connect our eyes, but I'm going to make sure that we're all taking care of the community. So I would just stress that community should be definitely paramount, and it is our job as leaders to foster that community.
And I'll just dive in after that. One of the goals that I've taken on myself is just making sure that no matter what, we set ourselves up to park on the downward slope, such that everything we do is like getting that potential energy ready for the moment that we finally get to be back together again, right? So one of the strategies that I've been trying to do in sort of jumping off of these ideas about having guests come in, everybody that I spoke to so far about having come to talk to my students works in issues of music and social justice. And my students in particular, McAllister, the kind of stuff really turns me on. So Tessa's going to talk about Justice Choir, and we've got Amanda Weber to kind of talk about her her women's prison choir that she's been working with, and Andy Clark is going to talk about his work with all ability choirs, and just to kind of get the students stimulated and thinking about what might be possible for us when we're back together again. We're just going to have this huge grab bag of new ideas. Just so instead of getting them sort of down in the dumps about what's happening now, it's all going to be all about, I can't wait to see these people again, and we're going to do all these cool things.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you to those in the chat, in the attendees in the room there, and we're very glad to have you with us. Please join us again, and thank you. Good evening.